Well, hello, friends. Happy Friday. What a great and busy week it's been. I hope that you are having just a wonderful Friday here. Let's dive right into today's live level up discussion.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market update. Speed round. Award-winning financial pro. And now, get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hi, friends. It's great to be here with you. Welcome to Level Up Live here on a beautiful Friday, wherever you're joining me from. Thanks so much for making the time. I'm Winnie, your host, an award winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member and contributor as well. It is wonderful to be here with you. I hope that you're having just a great week. It's been a busy one. On our front for sure. We are here live, and if you're catching me on replay, thanks so much for making the time as well. Let's just say that this has been overall really great week for the market, and it's kind of symbolic because the Dow is continues to test sort of a new high, which is kind of exciting. For those of you who haven't been paying attention to it, not to worry. Currently, the Dow is up 71 points. The Nasdaq, though, is down about 13, 14 points here. The S&P 500 is barely in positive, up above up about half a point here. So not quite a whole point, but green nonetheless. Now, the exciting part of this week, and of course today, is that the Dow Jones Industrial Average just briefly surpassed that very symbolic 40,000 mark, if you will, which is for those of you who don't know, it reached that first time yesterday, sort of in the middle of the trading day, but then it closed slightly lower. And currently, the Dow is at 39,940 points, but we're so close, and that makes it exciting. So, despite a pretty rocky start for the second quarter, both the S&P and the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq are up quite a bit in 2024. In fact, both of them are up over 11%, and the Dow's already up over 5% for the year as well. And the year's not even over. We're not even quite at the halfway point. So this is good news for those of you who are investors. So part of the optimism of this is, of course, because we've been seeing some a little bit better news in the area of inflation. That we've seen positive economic growth, but also slowing inflation, which is healthy for the stock market, of course. And of course, we are also seeing some great corporate earnings coming out from many different companies, which can kind of justify what we're seeing in the financial markets as well. But let's talk about some news because I actually have three stories that I don't want to share with you that I've collected on all the different business channels and whatnot. But these are the ones I thought are really interesting. And one of the big ones said, we've been talking about AI for quite some time now. And I think we're going to continue to talk about AI for quite some time because there's so many developments and also things that should be on your radar just to see, we're really living in almost like this new industrial age of this new industrial revolution of changes and growth. We saw that with the internet. We saw that with the smartphone. We're certainly seeing that with AI right now. So as we follow these stories, it's kind of like we're living through the beginning phases of AI. Well, OpenAI and Reddit have just signed on to partner, and this is a new partnership with the goal of enhancing AI capabilities and the user experience. So this was an article shared on The Verge by Amelia David, and talking about how OpenAI has now struck this new deal with Reddit. Now, many of you are probably familiar with Reddit. There are a lot of, it's like this huge, massive forum, and people talk about all sorts of things, some really popular channels. And, I even go on there sometimes to get some information of, let's say, news or even things that maybe my kids are, participating in sports, all sorts of things. But anyhow, Reddit now is sending this deal for real time content from Reddit's data API. This will be in conjunction with obviously the collaboration to enhance ChatGPT and other open AI products. Now they're going to be integrating some of those discussions straight from Reddit. That's interesting, right? Now this agreement is going to enable those who work at Reddit to utilize OpenAI's very large language models so that they can create these new AI powered features for those Redditors. Who are users and, of course, moderators that moderate these Reddit discussions as well. And OpenAI, on the flip side, will also become an advertising partner on Reddit. So that is one way that they're helping to benefit Reddit. Now, Reddit users, of course, have historically been not the biggest fans about the platform's management. And of course, this reaction to this new partnership is still up in the air, not quite. Still a lot to be worked out and not completely certain, but especially given the past protests that they've seen with over 7,000 subreddits being against the API pricing changes, we can imagine that there'll be a lot of discussion on Reddit about this new pending deal, right? Now, unlike Reddit's earlier $60 million deal with Google, this particular partnership is unique in that we don't know exactly how much money this deal is going to encompass, but I think we can both agree that it's probably not going to be cheap. Now, notably, there's no mention, of course, of training the data in the OpenAI deal, and that is, of course, different from the Google agreement that they made previously. Now, the partnership on the OpenAI's side was made by their COO and was approved by their independent board of directors. But for those of you who didn't know, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman was, of course, not involved directly on the negotiation process. And they had to do that because Sam Altman is actually a Reddit shareholder. Yeah. So Reddit's position on this, of course, Reddit CEO Steve Hoffman is saying that they definitely see value of including Reddit's vast, authentic, and the discussions into the ChatGPT platform. And I'm sure that the advertising dollars isn't bad as well. So this integration is really designed to bring the two platforms to be, part of this connecting more of the internet and helping just users discover and engage with communities on Reddit and to continue to be active in their forums there. But of course, we know that there's probably going to be some tensions, and people have talked about like blocking web crawlers from Google, and of course, accusing subreddit moderators of copyright violations. I mean, there's drama there as well. But we'll have to kind of pay attention and see what happens. But for those of you tuning in live, and I see a lot of you joining me on all the different platforms, right? Let me know, like, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about more of these platforms coming together? More of these social media platforms embracing artificial intelligence? Is it a smart move to go ahead and team up with OpenAI? Because it does seem like OpenAI has a couple steps forward, right? Or to spend the money like Google is to recreate or to create their own AI capabilities while still making acquisitions along the way as well. So I'm curious to see how you feel about that. And of course, a big shout out, welcome to CrossTech Fighter joining us on YouTube Live amongst many other friends. Definitely jump in, say hello. Let me know where you're joining me from. If you don't say hello, I can't see your comment, so I can't thank you for joining me live as well. But it's great to be here with you. All right, so here is the next story. And let me just tell you, I thought this was fascinating. I'm curious to see how you feel about this. Okay. So this was brought by Ken Sweet, the reporter at AP, and talking about how the Visa is going to be introducing this brand new thing to help us reduce having to like carry as many credit cards in our purses and our wallets on us and our cell phone pouch, whatever. I don't know about you, but I feel like I really dislike having to carry so many credit cards. And some of you might say, well, Winnie, that's because you have too many credit cards. Maybe you just carry your debit card and just one credit card, or maybe you don't even use credit. But either way, like when you travel, that's when it really seems to stand out because you're just like, I just wish it would be simpler because not all places yet take like things like Apple Pay, right? So sometimes you're still forced to carry these cards just because companies still need to swipe and it's not that convenient to have your 16 digits memorized in your brain all the time. But here's what they are working on now. They're working on a single card for multiple accounts. So Visa has this new feature, which is going to allow banks to issue just one single physical payment card. And this is going to be linked to multiple bank accounts. And that means for you and I that this consolidated cards from different banks will help us reduce the number of cards that we need to hold in our wallet. I'm just thinking like, okay, so I guess this is just as a backup in case they don't have things like Apple Pay where you still need that card. I guess we do need to have one physical card. But yeah, users are of course are they're saying they're going to enable us to set criterias on purchases for some sort of security measures, right? So for example, maybe transactions below $100 will go to a debit card, and certain ones will go to a credit card, which would help streamline the payment process. That part I do love because I have a certain credit card that I use for, let's say, groceries, and I have a certain card that I like to use for restaurants. I think if I could actually structure that via an app, and I would only have to use one card, talk about not having to worry about making sure that I pull the right card out to use every time, right? Now, they're saying that this also will help enhance security to combat online payment fraud, which is supposed to significantly, you know, reduce fraud because they're saying that there's typically a lot more fraud online than when you use your cards in person. And Visa is also introducing things like biometric authentication, which is where you use your fingerprint or, let's say, your face scan, which eliminates sort of that need for that 16-digit account number. They're even saying that I was reading several articles about that. They're even saying that the 16 digits will now be more symbolic, if anything else, that really it's all going to come to these other security features for you to be able to use your money. Now, Visa cards will now allow users just to tap their cards on smartphones to be able to add them to your mobile wallet and even to approve of online transactions, which would just make spending money, I guess, that much easier. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but if you think that this is some novel idea, it really isn't, because in many parts of Asia, this is already the case. And they're saying that this was going to start to roll out here in the United States this summer. So it'll be something to watch, something I'm definitely going to test out because I love to see how it works. Of course, I can share my experiences with you as well. But Affirm was going to be will be the first company to implement this new functionality here in the United States. And Visa updates are, of course, part of their innovations and competing with competitors such as the Apple Card, which doesn't require the printed account numbers and really offers sort of dynamic credit card numbers for just more security, which is kind of cool. So Visa executives really just think that the physical cards are going to be something of the future, and the 16 digits are going to be very much symbolic. And so what that means for us is more security, more safety, and hopefully just a lot lighter on the wallet and hopefully just easier use. But I love the idea of security. And I think this is key, especially since nowadays we are so concerned about cybersecurity, and as young people go to college and in the future, we just need to start to have more of these things in place. The sooner the better, right? Now, talking about security, I definitely want to share with you my next story, and this is regarding social media and the safety of social media as it relates to children. Now, the EU, the European Union, is probing Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook, about their uses and data and what they do in terms of Facebook and all their like Meta's social media platform, different like products, if you will. So Adam Satariano of the New York Times has talked about that the European Union has now started investigations and research into Meta. And they are really focusing on the potential addictiveness of these social media platforms such as Instagram and Facebook on our kids. Now, this move, of course, addresses concerns about the way that Meta has designed its platforms and its impact on the younger generation, on our minors. So the EU regulators are claiming that Meta's products may actually exploit our kids in terms of vulnerabilities and like their insecurities and inexperience of our kids, leading to perhaps behavioral dependencies that really have and can jeopardize mental health. Now, as a parent, I've seen this firsthand. So my 15-year-old, who is now like an early teenager, right, spends so much time on Instagram reels and videos. And I do feel that it's just like whenever there's like a downtime, it almost feels like that is where he goes to reach to. It's almost like, you know, it's almost like what used to be a stuffed animal. It's like a coping mechanism, and I think it's dangerous. And I think it's important that this be investigated. So, investigation will scrutinize Meta's sort of age verification tools and other privacy measures that they have in place for kids. So, if they find that they have violated this, which is the Digital Securities Act or Digital Services Act, I think Meta could actually face significant fines in the realm of 6% of their global revenue. And to give you an idea how big that number is, in 2023, that was $135 billion in terms of global revenue. So we're talking about a lot. That's a big paycheck. And I'm sure Meta doesn't want to pay that. So hopefully they can get this squared away so it doesn't continue to be so like addictive for kids, and it really is just a lot more like reasonable part. It should just really be a communication tool for people to continue to keep updated, but they don't need to feel like they need to be on it all the time. In fact, one thing that I read through this process was that you can actually set barriers as a parent to how many hours they are on this tool. And so that's something I'm going to be looking into more this weekend to see if I can change those settings for my son. But yeah, let me know how you feel about this. This is a big topic because not only are we embracing social media, right? And we know that this is a key informational tool, news tool, communication tool. We also know that they're bringing more AI features, which is probably going to just make these tools even more efficient and more intertwined into our daily lives. But what do you think about the discussion of the addictiveness for kids? Because as adults, we know when to turn things off. We know when to walk away, at least most of us, right? But kids, they're digitally native. This is what they know. This is where their friends are. And so not everybody parents the same way, and not everybody has the same tools, and not everybody feels the same way. So how do you make this work? Love to see what your reaction to this is. Feel free to drop it in comments and let me know how you feel about this. But the EU is certainly working with their counterparts here in the United States on the investigation to see what they can come up with. And the Digital Services Act is going to be mandating stricter content policing and, of course, risk mitigation for kids. And so this is just the beginning of their regulatory effort. Do you think it's too much? Do you think it's too much government? Do you think this is right? Do you think they should do more? Like, that'd be interesting to see how you feel about this. In fact, TikTok, as an example, has had to suspend a feature in the European Union that actually rewarded users, those who engaged with content, they were getting rewarded. And they were saying this was not good because this is also concerning for their addictive nature. And that kind of makes sense. It's almost like if you're rewarding people, then they feel like they need to be there all the time. It almost feels like a positive, right? They're rewarded, they're earning. Yeah. So Meta's facing additional investigations. So we'll see. They're even talking about some regulatory issues as it relates to political advertising. Now, this is an interesting one too. Now, I was just on a flight, American Airlines flight, in fact, last weekend, and one of the movies that was available on their entertainment platform was a backstory of Mark Zuckerberg and his creation of Facebook. Now, if you haven't seen it already, it's interesting. I think you should watch it and let me know how you think, what you think about it, because um, yeah, just let me know what you think about it. I think it's an interesting story for sure, and it's something that we'll be watching in the future. Now, let's take a look at the market, and I'll tell you how it's doing currently. The Dow currently is up 54 points, so we're at 39,924. So, of course, a little bit farther from 40,000 at this point. Nasdaq is now down 39 points, and the S&P 500 is now also down at 3.5 points, currently in the negative. Do me a favor and hit that like button because it's Friday, right? Hit that like button, subscribe to stay updated on all things business, finance. Of course, you can find full episodes, past episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun on NASDAQ. And you can check out Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, Roku, and many other streaming platforms. And when sharing an episode online, thank you so much. So many of you have been doing this. I've been seeing it. Do me a favor and tag at Winnie Sun to show your support. I truly am grateful. We have a lot of fun things, say, planning for this year. So hopefully I'll be able to share that with you in the coming months. But for deeper dive into more content, definitely check out Yes Factor with Winnie Sun on the Apple Podcast and the LinkedIn Podcast Network. With that, have a beautiful Friday. I hope it's wonderful. I hope you stay safe this weekend and enjoy your loved ones, enjoy the weather wherever you're at. With that, I'll see you again next week. Have a beautiful weekend. Take care, my friends. Bye bye now.